The Earth and the Moon. Learning objectives. The Solar System. Earth. The Moon. The Moon landing. The Moon and the tides. Artificial satellites. Eclipses. The Solar System. Solar system refers to the Sun and all the celestial objects that move around it, planets, natural satellites such as the Moon, asteroid belt, comets and meteoroids. The Sun is at the center of our solar system, which holds 8 planets and countless smaller objects in its orbit with its gravitational force. According to the distance from the Sun, there are 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Pluto was earlier considered as a planet, but now it comes in the category of dwarf planet. The 4 planets closest to the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, are called the terrestrial or rocky planets because they have solid, rocky surfaces, and the rest are called Jovian planets. The 2 outer planets beyond the orbit of Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, are known as gas giants as they are made of gases like hydrogen and helium, and the more distant planets, Uranus and Neptune, are called ice giants. Earth. The 3rd planet from the Sun is our Earth. It was formed somewhere around 4.54 billion years ago and is the only planet known to support life. The Earth is the only planet where life exists. As far as known, there is no other planet in the universe like Earth. It has a very narrow temperature range that allows water to remain a liquid. Life has developed over millions of years because of that liquid. It has an atmosphere made up of nitrogen, a relatively inert gas. The Earth. Earth structure. The Earth consists of several layers. The 3 main layers are the core, the mantle and the crust. 1. Core. The inner part of the Earth is the core. This part of the Earth is about 1,800 miles, 2,900 kilometers, below the Earth's surface. The core is a dense ball of iron and nickel. It is divided into 2 layers, the inner core and outer core. The inner core, the center of the Earth, is solid and about 780 miles thick. The outer core is so hot that the metal is always molten in this area. The outer core is about 1,370 miles, 2,200 kilometers, thick. 2. Mantle. The layer above the core is the mantle. It begins about 6 miles, 10 kilometers, below the oceanic crust and about 19 miles, 30 kilometers, below the continental crust. The mantle is divided into the inner mantle and the outer mantle. It is about 1,800 miles, 2,900 kilometers, thick and makes up nearly 80% of the Earth's total volume. It consists of mainly solid rocks, but the upper mantle is actually a layer of semi-liquid molten rock called magma. This magma flows slowly underneath the crust. 3. Crust. The crust layer above the mantle is the Earth's hard outer shell. It is the surface on which we are living. It is made up of solid rocks which are divided into the continental and oceanic plates. Structure of the Earth. Crust. Upper mantle. Mantle. Outer core. Inner core. Exosphere. Thermosphere. Mesosphere. Stratosphere. Troposphere. The Moon. The Moon is the Earth's nearest neighbor. The Moon travels around the Earth in an oval-shaped orbit. There is no air to breathe on the Moon. It does not have light of its own and reflects the light. Earth's nearest neighbor, Moon. Of the Sun. We see the part of the Moon that reflects the light of the Sun. The Moon is like a desert with plains, mountains, and valleys. It also has many craters, which are holes created when space objects hit the Moon's surface. Earth's nearest neighbor, Moon. The surface of the Moon. The surface of the Moon is cold and dry. There are mountains and deep holes on its surface. The deep holes on the surface of the Moon are called craters. These craters have been created by rocks from space that hit the surface of the Moon. These craters range in size up to many hundreds of kilometers. Moon surface. Phases of the moon. The shape of the moon changes as it revolves around the Earth. The changing shapes of the moon are called phases of the moon. New moon. The moon when it appears as a thin crescent. Waxing crescent. It appears when there is little bit of light on the moon and its illuminated surface seems to grow, wax, to full. First quarter moon. It appears when half of the moon's surface is illuminated and looks like half circle. It is 1/4 of the way through the lunar month. Waxing gibbous. It appears when the moon is nearly, but not full. Full moon. It appears when it is farther away from the sun than the Earth and appears as a bright, round disk. Waning gibbous. It appears when it wanes, grows thinner/decreases each night. Last quarter. It comes out when the moon appears as a half circle again. The dark side in the first quarter phase is now the lit side. Waning crescent new moon. It is repeated each lunar moon and is the start of new cycle. New moon. Waxing crescent. First quarter moon. Waxing gibbous. Full moon. Waning gibbous. Last quarter. Waning crescent new moon. The moon landing. On July 20, 1969, two American astronauts, Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz, became the first human beings to land on the moon. President Kennedy started the mission of Apollo 11 to land 2 men on the moon. Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin stayed for 2.5 hours on the moon land and collected rock samples to bring back to Earth. The astronauts wore spacesuits in order to survive the cold, lack of air, and harmful rays in the space. Neil Armstrong on the moon. Sci facts. The energy from tidal forces can be harnessed for electricity using tidal turbines, fences, or barrages. The moon and the tides. Tides are the rise and fall of the levels of the ocean. They are caused by the gravitational pull of the sun and moon as well as the rotation of the Earth. Tides cycle as the moon rotates around the Earth and as the position of the sun changes. Throughout the day the sea level is constantly rising or falling. This cycle can happen once or twice a day depending on the location of the area to the moon. Tides that happen once a day are called diurnal. Tides that happen twice a day are called semi-diurnal. Low and high tide of moon. Because the Earth rotates in the same direction as the moon, the cycle is actually slightly longer than a day at 24 hours and 50 minutes. Tides and the moon. While the sun and the rotation of the Earth both have some tidal impact, the location of the moon has the biggest effect on the tide. The gravity of the moon causes a high tide both on the side of the Earth directly below the moon and the opposite side of the Earth. Low tides are on the sides of the Earth 90 degrees away from the moon. Artificial satellites. Satellites are objects orbiting a planet. The moon is a natural satellite. Artificial satellites are those put into orbit by man. The first artificial satellite was Sputnik I, launched by the Soviet Union in 1957. There are various kinds of satellites. We use satellites for different purposes and all satellites can be placed in one of the following categories. Communication satellites. These satellites distribute audio and telephone calls. Weather satellites observe the Earth for weather forecasting. Navigation. Satellites are of enormous help to transportation companies, especially transportation over water and through the air. Military satellites are also used for observing the Earth. Scientific satellites are used to observe the Earth for scientific purposes. First satellite Sputnik I. Eclipses. Eclipses occur when the Earth, Sun and Moon are in a line. At times the Moon is between the Earth and the Sun, and on the contrary it is the Earth that is in between the Sun and the Moon. Lunar eclipse. Moon eclipse can only occur at full moon, and when Earth comes between the Sun and Moon. Then the Earth will block the light coming from the Sun before it can get to the Moon. Since moonlight is just the light Moon reflects from the Sun, this will darken the Moon and produce a shadow. Lunar eclipse. Sun, Earth, Moon. This is called an eclipse of the Moon or lunar eclipse. The Earth's shadow is composed of two cone-shaped components. The outer or penumbral shadow is a zone where the Earth blocks parts of the sunlight. In contrast, the inner or umbral shadow is a region where the Earth blocks all direct sunlight from reaching the Moon. Phases of a lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse. In the solar eclipse, Moon comes between the Earth and the Sun, so that the Sun is fully or partially covered. This can only happen during a new moon, when the Sun and Moon are in conjunction as seen from the Earth. At least up to 5 solar eclipses can occur each year on Earth, with between 0 and 2 of them being total eclipses. A total eclipse occurs when the Sun is completely obscured by the Moon. An annular eclipse occurs when the Sun and Moon are exactly in line, but the apparent size of the Moon is smaller than that of the Sun. A hybrid eclipse transitions between a total and annular eclipse. At some point on the surface of the Earth it is visible as a total eclipse, whereas at others it is annular. A partial eclipse occurs when the Moon only partially obscures the Sun. Solar eclipse. Sun, Moon, Earth. Summary. Solar system includes the Sun and the 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. The third planet from the Sun is our Earth. The Earth has 3 main layers: the core, the mantle, and the crust. There is no air to breathe on the Moon. The deep holes on the surface of the Moon are called craters. The shape of the Moon looks to change as it revolves around the Earth. On July 20, 1969, 2 American astronauts, Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz, became the first human being to land on the Moon. Solar eclipse can only happen during a new moon, when the Sun and Moon are in conjunction as seen from the Earth. Keywords: artificial satellite, man-made equipment that orbits around the Earth or the Moon. Lunar eclipse. The Earth interrupts light shining on the Moon. Solar eclipse. The Moon interrupts light from the Sun.